the Joanna fight, like when she kicked, I don't want to like ruin it, but when she fucking leg kicked her, and it took Zing's legs out, I like audibly moaned. I was like, oh, dude, because I love a good hands high leg kick, and
Yeah.
then like I love to see that shit, and the way she did it, and then like Zhang fell back like on herself, and I was like, oh, like I got all like my bussy fucking twinge, dude.
UFC 275 is in the rearview mirror. We're talking here on a Monday evening, and we got plenty to talk about. A lot of storylines coming out of this card. Starting at the top of the card, usually we'll jump around. I'll ask you like, "Hey, is there something you want to talk about first?" Or I'll mention like, "Hey, we're just going to skip to this fight and cover this fight because it was a barn burner." But that all happened in the main event. Yuri Prochazka gets the win over Glover Teixeira with the 5th round. What even was it? Was it a rear naked choke? But
It was a rear naked choke.
He didn't have the hooks in.
Called it. Yuri on some weird shit.
Yuri on some weird shit.
That was some. Who would have said like? We even said it like he gives up his back, and he did in the fight. I was like, oh, called that too. He did his buck up thing where he tried to bump him with his fucking shoulder. And Glover was like, yeah, I'm right there. And Glover was like, I'm right here. Oh, you're gonna move? I'm right here. I'm right there. And it was like, oh, he's gonna get. And then he fucking goes at the very end. And dude, I guarantee you, if it was a movie, dude, you would have been like, was this what you were trying to do all night? And he just like showed him how to do it. Like, was this what you were trying to do?
Was this the plan, dude?
Let me show you. And it's like, whoa, that was some weird shit. And then I said it again, dude. If there's any fuckery, it's gonna go Jiri's way. And what would they say? Like there was the tap. I saw that as a celebration because they're just weird the whole night. They're looking at each other, smiling like we're gonna fucking.
They were talking shit in each other's ears.
They were talking, yeah. They were talking, and they were like smiling, like I know, motherfucker. And then Glover was giving them that you're weird, bro. Like that guy at the fucking when you're at the fucking cafeteria at school, and then the kid's doing the Naruto run, and then you see each other in the line, and you're like, you're fucking weird, dude. But like handle that. They like Glover was giving them that smile like all night, like, dude, you're fucking weird, dog. Like this shit is you're for real weird, huh?
I guess Mark Goddard did some Q&A or responded to people that were talking about the Jiri Prochazka taps because a lot of people noticed it. Apparently, he said that what had happened was it Mark Goddard? Whoever was reffing.
I think it was.
Yeah, he said that what had happened, and he could hear it clear as day because he said that the crowd at that point was still kind of quiet. That Yuri Prochazka was saying, "Oh, you took me down, good job," and giving him a little pat, like reassurance, like trolling.
I saw that too because like the way they were doing it, like the way they were talking shit. Not only like throughout the week, you can just kind of see it. It's like I'll watch the embeddeds and all that stuff, and then the way they talk, and it was very condescending. Both of them were very condescending to each other.
Yeah,
and I think it was like they were tired of answering the same questions. You know what I mean? Like, oh, Jiri's kind of weird, right? Unorthodox, right? And then Glover's like, he is. And then Jiri's like, what if they get you down, Jiri? Do you think you can wrestle? Do you think he'll get? What if he gets you in a lock? Will you get out? And he's like, yes. I think they're both just like tired of that shit.
I think you're absolutely right. I think that kind of media dynamic, because that immediately, as soon as Glover got the upset over Jan Blachowicz, and Jiri was like pegged as the next guy, like this is it. Right. There was a large swath of the fandom that were saying, dude, Glover's going to get wrecked. Well, so long, Glover. That was a fun little title reign you had there, but it's over. And then there was also a smaller but steadfast contingent of fans that were like, no, Glover's going to get one takedown and it's going to be fucking over. You guys are going to be like them. We're going to all be saying, I told you so. Me. A lot of other people, though, too. And I think that it made both of these guys go into the fight with a bit of a chip on their shoulder because both of those narratives were going on.
Oh, for sure.
And they managed to exceed everybody's expectations because I mean, I said it I said, yeah, if there's one takedown, it's Glover. But I also said if he doesn't get that takedown, Yuri's going to touch him in the face, and Glover's brains are going to be in the third row. So, and Yuri touched him a lot. And that didn't happen.
He hit him with that. He hit him with that fucking Gus uppercut too. I was like, "Oh God, oh, that was the Gus uppercut."
Mm-hmm.
Did you see that? He did it the exact way that Gustafson hit him with it, and I was like, "Keep doing it, keep doing it."
Yeah.
Like you could get like 7 more
from the
like,
same side. No.
Yeah, dude, it was really, that was such a fucking cool fucking fight. Like, it's so great. And then you and I messaged you earlier, like we kind of nailed it because like. I rewatched that one. The other few fights, I just kind of watched like kind of a scoring breakdown perspective of them. But this one I watched raw and like just like watched it again, and I was like, man, that was. And I was remembering the feelings I had when I was like watching it the first time. And going like, oh shit, and then I'm like, no, he was like patting him on the back, like, good job, asshole, you got me down, like, way to go, and just like, and I was like, man, and then like I remembered a lot of the stuff that you had said that when we were talking about the scrambles that he had when that Nemkov fight and how beautiful it looked, but it was because he made mistakes. He was like, I'll just do this, like it worked for me before, but it didn't work against Glover. Like he was right there, just like you and I said, and not to say like we get it right. I've been very wrong so many times. I have absolutely no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. I mean, but it feels good to like actually like have it on tape that I said that this show, and then it fucking kind of worked out the way that you and I both kind of like broke. Not to say that it was perfect, but like, yeah, he bucked up, gave his neck up, and it happened almost every single time he did it. Like he tried to do the strong man, like throw his back out of it, but Glover, like I mean, I'm sure he's seen every little bit of that when guys try to get out that way.
Yeah.
And yeah,
it was crazy. I mean, into the third round, and Glover is tanking every shot to the chin. It almost looked like Yuri Prochazka couldn't miss. And
he was hot. It was like on the street. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was crazy.
And all I could think was like, Glover, you need to get this fight down while you still have the energy to make that happen.
Right.
And then I never would have thought that 2 rounds later, in the 5th round, late in the fight, the entire dynamic would be the opposite. And suddenly Glover can't miss, and he's the one that has Yuri like railing. And I'm over here thinking like, by this time Glover's going to be too tired to land a takedown. And instead he goes for the takedown when he arguably should not have, and should have tried to finish Yuri on the feet. What do you think about Glover Teixeira's perceived lack of judgment there? Do you think that was really the nail in the coffin? Like,
I mean, I think when you've been hit in the head by fucking Yuri Prochazka for 23 minutes,
double digits,
you're not going to be fucking Stephen Hawking on the mat, dog. Like, it's just not going to happen. Like,
Good point.
Just not going to. And I guarantee you're running, like, he's even past, like, everything in your body. Adrenaline, fucking blood sugar, carbohydrates, everything in your body's gone, dude. And that's just like the mark of a man. Like, that's why, like, fighting mixed martial arts in particular is so crazy, because you blow out every single hormone in your body, and it's just you and another person in there locked in a cage, and then what are you gonna do? And Glover did what had worked for him all the way up to that point. It's like, why isn't it gonna work now? And then that's why Yuri, like we talked about, he stays in the moment. He's not thinking about like, well, what's gotten me to this point so far. He's like, well, what am I doing right now? Like, what am I doing at this very second? Oh, I'm on the ground. He's tired. I know he's tired. He feels different. Let me just see if I can get this in. Oh, there it goes. What the fuck? Look, let's do it. And he choked him.
Unquestionably, fight of the year so far.
Oh yeah,
I don't think
we always say that.
We do.
We say that but I mean,
I don't feel like there's a debate on this one though. Like, I can't think of anything else from this year that is like a front runner for that.
was
But
Figgy and Moreno. Figgy and Moreno was pretty dope.
I will say this to kind of narrow it down, though. Like, we could put that back on the shelf and say, okay, maybe undecided if that's going to be fight of the year. Anyways, we're only halfway through the year, so why
Yeah,
even talk about it? But
right.
best light heavyweight fight you've ever seen? Where do you stand on that?
Mm, mm, yes, yes, by a pretty wide margin. Best UFC light heavyweight fight I've ever seen.
Good point. I
Because
mean,
like I've
I,
seen some pretty wild ones. Like on Dream used to throw some fucking wild ass events where dudes were just straight on roids and they were just going crazy. Pride had that. I guess it would be considered the light heavyweight um, uh, fucking Grand Prix. That was just banger on banger on banger.
yeah.
So
For me, like, before, it was probably Jones Gustafson won,
yeah. And
but
in that one, he won that. What was crazy was, oh, sorry to break, sorry to, but it kind of came up for me, like with the fight we'll talk about with Valentina, was that fight wasn't as close as people thought. It was just Jones had taken his more damage than we had ever seen him
yeah,
take.
there's
And when
always
you
a
go back and watch it, you're like, oh shit, he was kicking the shit out of that guy.
there's always a case for when someone you are not expecting to like overperforms or
It
performs
happened to
above
me
your
this week.
expectations,
Yeah,
and suddenly you think like, oh, they won the fight. No, they did
yeah,
better than you thought that they were
yeah,
gonna do.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But anyways, yeah. Um, but I've watched that fight, and I know for certain that I certainly I didn't have the emotions that I had for this Glover Prochazka fight while I was
Mm-hmm.
watching that fight, because I was literally on my feet. I mean, it was all about the swings of momentum with this fight.
Sure.
Whereas Gustafson was put up like a better effort than I ever would have expected against Jones, but was still always pretty much like a step behind him as far as how the
Mm-hmm.
fight was progressing. Whereas in
Right.
this fight, there was just multiple moments where I shot out of my seat thinking like, this is it,
Yeah.
Glover's going to take it, or
Yeah.
this is it, Jiri's going to fucking destroy him. It's over. He's going to kill him, and
Yeah.
it just back and forth that constantly, like multiple
It was
times
so
within a
cool,
round.
dude.
And I went into this fight without even that much stakes in it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't. The light heavyweight division isn't my division right now. Like, it's not the
Yeah.
division that I get the most excited about.
Right.
No,
It's kind of ingrained in us, like to not really like, oh, who really cares? Like, it's only really been exciting what the last year and a half, 2 years, really.
and I mean, I think that would be polarizing to say that too, because I think some people would argue that it's not at all. But I mean, I
Yeah.
think it just depends on what you're looking for in the sport and out of
Good
that
point.
division, I
Sure.
guess. Because I mean, some people would probably think like, well, it was perfectly fine as long as Jones was fighting, because I don't know. It depends on what side of the bed you wake up on, and if you like there to be
Yeah.
long reigning dominant champions, or if you like the hot potato. I think the hot potato is good. I think it's good for a division. I think it's good for divisions to go through that,
It's good
especially
for
if
the sport.
yeah,
Yeah.
especially if you get a situation where you have multiple ex champions still competing in a
Right.
division, because then there's just the rising tide raises all boats. You know,
Yeah. Good point, man.
more guys get in there with former champions, and it's just
Very good point.
gives everybody the rub.
Mhm.
So Yuri Prochazka, Glover Teixeira. Does your stock for Yuri Prochazka, is it kind of the same? Has it gone up?
It's the same.
It's the same.
It's gone up. It didn't like shoot to the moon. Like it's gone up, but not like the reasonable amount of like level raise.
It makes sense. We've seen him
Because
now. We've seen
yeah,
him fight in the 4th and the 5th round. We know that he's going to stick
we've seen
around.
him.
So
We've seen him like his chin. We've seen him. Okay, can he grapple? Well, there's 25 minutes that'll fucking tell you like
yeah,
he's not Daniel Cormier, but he's fucking gonna get it done. Like you're not just gonna wrestle fuck the guy, which
Yeah.
is like if of anything makes me feel awesome because sometimes when you watch fighters that are like I don't know, just not as prolific in their grappling, you know, like watching man, I can't think of a good example, but you get it a lot in like the lighter weight classes where some of those guys are just great wrestlers. Like a lot of those guys are just great wrestlers. 90, but then a guy kind of shoots up in the rankings, and you're like, shit, like, man, if he just can't stay on his feet, and like, guy, it'd be so great if he could just wrestle and he can't. That's frustrating. With him, it's like, nah, Jerry will be fine. Like, it don't matter who does it. He won't look gorgeous. It won't be like Cael Sanderson or like, Dan Gable out there, but he's gonna fucking get down.
Yeah, he because he kind of is a promise of violence. Like is one thing to be like, I have crazy, wrestling defense. I have the power to control where this fight takes place and decide when I don't want it to happen on the ground. He might not be able to say that with as much confidence, but he can promise that he's going to hurt you while you're trying.
I mean, they said it straight out. Like, that's his only his third
fight in the UFC.
Well, not his third fight, but of his whole career, his third submission, right, or something like that. And he's just like, and then who did he just submit?
Glover. And before the fight, he was literally saying, "I don't play these jiu-jitsu things. I just want to take you down and fuck you up." And it's like,
And then because he was just in the moment. Like, what am I doing right now? What will win in this moment right now? A lot of people don't, like we said it earlier. Like, he's not going to be. Like with Rose, he's not going to be insecure about when things get to the like someone who had been hearing, you get to the ground, it's over, dog. You get to the ground, you're done.
Yeah.
What are you going to do if he gets your back? What are you going to do? Someone who's heard that for his entire camp, he fucking got the guy's back and choked him. What? So what? Like, how crazy is that? Like, how crazy is that to say? That's that. Where that again, like that movie character shit, like what you thought he couldn't do, he did it, and he doesn't even want to do that. He probably will tell you, like, I'm never going to do that again. Never. I really don't think I would. I don't want to, but it was there. Why not? That's crazy.
Sometimes, and I think I may have brought this up with you before in our chat. I do this with Mike a lot, where we talk about fighters and we kind of try and categorize them. And my belief, I don't know where I got this from. I think I got it from someone on SureDog back in the day, where that all fighters fall into 3 categories. And you're not just one category, but it's kind of like those graphs where there's like the 3 points, and it kind of shows you how much more you lean towards 1 point or 2 points versus the other. But it is fighter, athlete, martial artists. And generally, everybody is an amalgamation of all 3 of those things, but some people are obviously more one than the other. For example, Vanderlei Silva, fighter. Definitely. Yeah. Right. Definitely athletic and has practiced martial arts, but he's a fighter. Then you look at someone like George St. Pierre. I can't say he's not a fighter, but that's where you lean more martial artist, athlete.
Martial artist. Yeah.
You look at someone like Tyron Woodley, athlete.
Athlete, yeah.
So Jiri Prochazka.
Fucking. Damn.
Berserker.
He's kind of it. Damn it.
Because he comes out with
ball wash,
the top knot and the samurai shit. As much as I want to place him firmly,
he's wearing a fucking Japanese fucking
traditional
kimono.
Garb. As
kimono,
much as
dog,
as
you wearing?
As much as I want to place him firmly in the fighter category, I can't say he's not a martial artist. He even he keeps bringing it up in interviews and stuff. He's like, no, I live the Shogun way of life, and it's like, dude, interesting.
It's in other sports. In other sports, they have that where it's like you see a guy playing like quarterback, but you know he's a fucking athlete and he could play any fucking where on the field. So it's like, are you a football player or are you an athlete playing football?
Yeah.
Are you a track star or are you fast and are you a track star trying to play football or are you a fast ass football player? Like, Jerry Rice back in the day, he ran like a 4.7. And they're like, this guy's fucking slow as hell. But then you put pads on him, other dudes with pads on him, he's running a route. He runs right by everybody. So it's like, are you fast and you're playing football, or are you a fast guy trying to play football? So I feel like Jiri's a fighter trying to be a mixed martial artist. And
Interesting.
He's doing a really good job.
Yeah.
I think he's doing a really fucking good job of it.
It seems like he has a natural I mean, I shouldn't say natural. The dude has plenty of experience. I got to remember,
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
he's been fighting outside of the UFC for a while, but he mixes the martial arts really well. It's in the transitions. It's in it just being about like, okay, no matter what position I'm in, the goal is to send violence your way. And it sounds like some really cliche shit that Justin Gaethje would say, but
yeah,
Justin Gaethje is just like, oh no. Well, what I really mean is, no matter
yeah,
what position I'm in, I'm gonna try to get back to my feet and then throw blind violence at you. Where Yuri Prochazka has kind of shown us with this Glover fight, because I don't want to be one of those people that's just like, well, I was picking Glover, but he's an old man. No, I'm sorry.
yeah,
Yeah, I was saying that if he got him down, he was going to strangle him, and that would be it.
yeah.
And Yuri resisted that and remained violent and ended up beating him at his own game. So it's just like,
It's just mental, dude.
Mhm.
Everything is mental, dude. Everything in life is. There are so many people that are so much better at you than you at any given thing that you choose to do. But it's just all in your fucking mind, dude. And that guy conquered like that fight or flight mind, which is very hard. People get into fights and they get into a situation like that where you kind of get put in in the moment where you have to make a quick decision. Some people run, some people go to it.
Yeah.
This guy, like, he goes into it and he's able to completely slow everything down and just figure out what the best way to win and the best way to inflict the most damage on you where you're at that moment, and he just does it. And it's really cool to see.
So I got to ask, what do you think is next for Yuri Prochazka? If you could wave a magic wand and put on your matchmaker hat, do you want to see a rematch of this right off the bat?
Rematches, I think they got lucky that it was such a good fight. And so with fights like this, like the UFC, I guarantee you, like, the matchmakers are like, fuck, thank God it was such a good fight. Because they can keep it in their back pocket. But I think they're going to wait and see what happens with Ankalaev and Smith. And it kind of sucks because Ankalaev's coming off of some, like, I wouldn't say stinkers, but just not his best his last few fights. And I think Anthony Smith, I mean, he is we've talked about it. Like, he's Mr. fucking right place, right time, dude. So if, I think if Ankalaev goes out there and kind of just like gets a kind of like an underwhelming decision, then I think they'll go up. Fuck it, just do the fucking rematch anyway. And it's in such Ankalaev and Smith is so close. It's in July, so like, and both of these guys, Yuri and Glover, are gonna need time, dude. Like after this fight, like that shit kind of is in your soul, dude. So
yeah,
they'll both be able to see how it goes, and so I do think that I guarantee you right now, like they're praying that it's Ankalaev and Yuri in October. You know what I mean? Like I guarantee you that's what they're like. That's what they want on that Dubai card. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's the route that they'll go to. Jan Blachowicz is kind of in limbo a little bit because the Alexander Rakic injury happened. So, I mean, that's a win for him, but it's not really a win that is making his stock rise with too many people, or at least the contingency of fans that they're going to make their money on. So, yeah, Jan might need another fight. Ankalaev and Smith, I think, are lined up for it, and Smith is certainly talking himself up into this fight. He had strong criticisms for both of them, and I think he knows that this is one of those deals where it doesn't matter if I'm right. What matters is that I get a reaction out of people and get them, because he was saying like a lot of people were calling it fight of the year. I just saw two guys out there making a lot of mistakes and fucking up, and I wasn't impressed. It's like, yeah, that's gonna get attention. So I think either way it'll be a pretty exciting fight.
He's not wrong. I mean, he's not wrong. I mean, technically, he's not wrong. They did make mistakes.
Going back to your point,
high level chess.
It's high level chess, and going back to your point too, though, like it gets a little bit easier to find those mistakes and exploit them after you've punched a guy in the face like 60 times, and punches that would probably kill most men. Like I mentioned that the Glover Gustafsson finish is like burned into my brain. Like how I've said it over. I've said it plenty of times and corrected myself. It's like, how do you get drilled in the face by the same uppercut 4 times in a row? Well, like,
Just get out of the way.
after, well, fun
Yeah.
fact, it gets easier after the first one lands for some
Yeah, it's like
reason.
cyberbullying. Just turn the computer off.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
What would you like to see for, if you're on Glover Teixeira's team? How do you pick the pieces back up? I mean, he was calling for a rematch. Do you think that he should probably
Yeah.
take a little bit of time off, see if maybe he falls
He
into
will.
another fight with Jan Blachowicz instead or something?
Yeah, I'd like to see him and Blachowicz go at it again.
Uh-huh.
Or I mean, even Rakic, like how does that heal? You know what I mean? Because Glover needs some time, dog. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, he's gonna need some time. So like, you know, how is that gonna heal? That'd be a good one to see those two guys fight, and it'd be good for both of them. Rakic really needs it. I mean, he was on like a fucking star trajectory going into that Blachowicz fight. Like everything was set up for him to beat the shit out of Jan, and it just, even before he got hurt, it wasn't going good.
Yeah.
So I think if he can heal that, I'm not sure where he's at on that timetable wise. Everybody's different. His style of fighting, you kind of need your knee ligaments. So
Sort of.
yeah. But that would, if I again waiver magic one, I like to see Rakic and Glover and Ankalaev and like maybe Rakic and Glover November, December, and Ankalaev and Yuri in October at Dubai.
I like it, man. We can move on to the co-main event, which saw Valentina Shevchenko defend her flyweight championship across all 5 rounds against Taila Santos. Taila Santos showed up and was game, gave Valentina Shevchenko a better fight than any of us probably expected. And in fact, in some people's opinions, I don't know who these degenerates would be, but some people seem to think that Taila Santos should be the flyweight champion of the world right now.
She lost the fight, but she should still be the flyweight champion. I've changed. Like I thought flat out she won.
Uh-huh.
Kind of go back, watch it again, watch a few people who are on this platform, kind of like that know way more than I fucking do, and they explain it to me, and I calm down, but it's just like, and I didn't realize, and I think when I went back and even rewatched our podcast and thought, I just say you want her to lose. Like, why is it so hard to just say you want Valentina Shevchenko to lose? Just say you want her to lose.
So you're saying you wanted her to lose and you were having trouble kind of like verbalizing that before, or?
I think I was way too self-aware and because like it's something that I'm a Taila Santos fan. I just don't necessarily like watching Shevchenko fights.
Mm-hmm. I get that.
I have a ton of respect for her. Mm-hmm. What she has done in life, and what she's done in what the avenues that she's chosen in life is like so much more successful. It's like she's on fucking Pluto, and I'm like on the ass end of Earth, like looking at that, like to where I can never get to her level of success and her mental fortitude and everything she's gone through in her life. But I feel like it's okay for me to say, I don't like watching you fight. Mm-hmm. I just don't like watching it, but and I mean, it's so hard. I can't even say it now, but it's just like I just know that she could beat the living shit out of someone, like because when we got to the 3rd round, and it was kind of like, oh fuck, am I losing this? Like, is she really? Could I possibly be losing this? Fuck it. And then she like stood on the gas, and then just tore her apart. For like, there was portions of that where she was just those last 2 rounds. You saw it, like the gloves went on, and she like put the fucking mask on and was like, "I'm gonna kill you now. Like this is what's gonna." And she was very close to doing it, even when she was in danger. When she was back punching her, when Taila had her back, she was fucking sucking the shit out of her.
Yeah.
So it's like, you can kill this girl. Like, why don't you just do it? And it's so frustrating. It's like watching a dream fight, where like you're punching, but the punches just aren't hitting hard, or you're running and like you can't get away. It's like, just kill her, dude. Like, what the heck?
I think Tyler Santos is better than I was giving her credit for. It's
Oh
not that
yeah,
I thought that like she wouldn't really be able to give Valentina Shevchenko problems. It's that I think it's one of those deals where like we can't always see their physicality, and that's something that plays a factor in these fights, like more than just, oh, well, this girl is good at this particular skill set, and then this other girl is
yeah,
good at this particular skill set. This is generally a weakness for this, so therefore this person should win. Like
yeah,
a lot
yeah,
of
yeah.
times, like, and some other girls made mention of this earlier in the night about like how a fighter feels, and I think that we really couldn't have assessed the kind of strength that Tyler Santos had, and to some extent the size advantage, because they didn't look that different like in size in like the right after the weigh-ins, but Tyler Santos felt and looked bigger. I don't know if
She
she
loomed larger. Yeah,
yeah.
I mentioned that to you in the middle of the fight. Like, she looks like she could play corner for the fucking Ravens right now.
That's
Like,
right.
god
Yeah, I
damn,
forgot
dude.
about that. That's when I mentioned like she kind of
Yeah,
like she's giving me
and in
female
the lead
Jacare
up,
vibes.
yeah, and in the lead up, we talked about. I said like she has the frame for this. Like,
Hmm.
if you look at like if you're making a fighter on a video game,
Oh,
and you kind of start with like do 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 do,
yeah,
and that's her right there. Like,
absolutely.
just everything about what she did
Hmm.
was, or what you can just tell, like, oh, you're not stronger than me. Like, you're
Hmm.
not any, but you're not special.
Yeah.
You've just done this longer. That's all I really saw.
Hmm.
And it's a testament to Santos and just how classy she was in the post fight. I haven't really watched any of the interviews, and I get that she's a Portuguese speaker, so
Hmm.
like but she was just very classy. Like, when they announced the loss, she was just okay, like,
Let's talk about
whatever.
these rules for a little bit, because I know I was being that MMA fan
We
last night.
get
I
it.
was like, actually, but
I just want to
listen.
say this though. I just want to say this though. Sorry, Doc. I do this. I'm doing this to you too much. I'm getting too comfortable cutting you off here. Sorry, but um, and not so much you, but the guys that I've seen really stand the like under the unified rules of okay, just say you whack off to lady bodybuilders. We get it, Doc. You like that kind of shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we get it. Not you, again, not you, but like there's guys really standing the like she's so smart that she didn't she
Mhm.
like she they're like making up reasons why she won this way.
Oh, that's
You
yeah,
get what
no,
I'm
like
saying?
Valentina Shevchenko is not like defending a choke and like punching over her own shoulder because she has
Yeah.
some like acute awareness of how of the
Yeah.
rules of mixed martial arts or
She
anything like
knew
that.
that that would work that
No.
way and that would inflict maximum damage. And the headbutt
Hmm.
was actually part of the plan. Like, no,
I,
dude,
I would just say
she headbutted
if
that
the ref
girl.
didn't see it, why are we crying about a headbutt? Because
Yeah, yeah,
let's
yeah.
face it, the refs see plenty of fouls in plenty of fights
Yeah,
and don't
oh,
do
yeah.
anything anyways. My point though was going to be that kind of made me forget my point a little bit.
No,
My
you're
point, no,
talking about the
the rules,
unified rules,
the
right?
rules. I think I've noticed in the last few cards, or for a little while now, they have been going a little out of their way to keep mentioning on the broadcast, like to clarify the new like unified rules. And as far as I'm aware,
Mm,
these aren't like the newest rules. These rules have been around for a little bit now, but they keep wanting to specify that the first thing that the judges are looking at all times
mhm.
is just for damage, and damage is the only thing that matters unless the damage happens to be equal or they can't really tell who did more damage.
Yeah, it
then
leaves it. Yeah,
then they go to effective grappling and octagon control. But like I would argue that if you have someone's back, the thing is the hypocrisy, because we've seen plenty of fights even as recently as last week where someone has won a fight with ground control or by sticking
yeah,
someone up against the cage, and yet like somehow this is where they decide to follow their own weird kind of rules.
yeah,
Holly Holm, like it didn't work out for Holly Holm recently, and I think it's another example of them deciding like, oh no, like if we're looking at these unified rules, Caitlin Vieira did all the actual damage. Doesn't matter how
right.
long Holly Holm put her on the fence. I think that like if I'm a wrestler in the UFC, and that is my bread and butter. And my plan is to come out, put you on your back, and punish you from the top. But mostly just make sure, above all else, that I'm going to control position. Those guys exist in the UFC right now. We know it. There's guys who would love to just backpack their opponent for 3 rounds or 5 rounds. Yeah. What are we like? I feel like you're just going to make things more complicated for judges if some of them are starting to take that into consideration. Is this a bettor's nightmare, a gambler's nightmare? Is what I'm asking.
Look at Jan and Sterling. It's just like the octagon control and what he was doing with his back.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. Yeah, that's a perfect counter argument, because I think that Aljamain Sterling definitely won that fight because of grappling control. But I would need to rewatch that fight to really assess how much damage Peter Yan did to him, though. To decide why it got to that second phase of judging. Podcast. They just need to factor in all of these things at the same time. It's so weird to say no. You only factor in grappling if the damage is equal. What the fuck?
Well, I think for me, what I've seen, and it's like legalese. Do you know what I'm saying? It's basically, you're telling me you have the right to, it's like when your parents tell you, I'm your fucking dad. Mm-hmm. So what I say goes. Mm-hmm. And but you said this was what I had to do. Yeah, well, yeah. I'm the parent here. Who's the parent? You're the little person. Mm-hmm. So it's political. Leaves the door open for them to we've kind of. I don't think any professional sport outright fixes, but there's mechanisms that they have to either ref differently in things like with boxing or MMA, where they can do what they want to do with the judging. They kind of leave themselves out to where, because now Disney's involved. You know what I'm saying? They can't just let somebody, take for instance, the homie that got knocked out from Ben Askren, right?
Yeah.
They left themselves out to where a fighter like Ben Askren just couldn't span his way to a title. They could have figured something out to where, if he had a stinker of a fight where he's just taking everybody down, and just look like shit, they can kind of judge. So they leave themselves.
They give themselves a way out. Yeah.
They give themselves a way out without outright saying we just don't like that person, and we just don't want them to do it. And not to say that Askren couldn't have done it, but I think if they kind of manipulate the game to where you kind of end up having to play the game they want it for TV, which is, they're a business, so But when I hear the rule hypocrisy, I don't think of it from a purist standpoint of where we're not dealing with people who really care about the sport. I think at the highest level of it, the people that really make the decisions don't care about the sport and don't care whether the sport, how it looks to guys like me and you. Mm-hmm. Even guys the top level and analysts and fighters and trainers, they don't care. They have a dollars and cents portion of it, so they make the judging so vague, but it sounds official. It's this corporate speak to me.
Mm-hmm. So at the end, Valentina Shevchenko retains. Tayla Santos is, I believe, going to undergo surgery for a broken orbital bone. I don't know if she's actually going to need surgery, but she has a broken orbital bone. And so she's going to be out of commission for a little bit with that. I would say that the next fighter up to in the Valentina Shevchenko sweepstakes to try and is, Chookagian has a fight coming up. Chookagian.
You're saying Orbitable
Chookagian. That's our new grudge band name, Orbitable Chookagian. She's got a fight coming up with Manon Fiorot. That I would have thought was going to be a number 1 contender or a title eliminator fight because Chook is what's that face?
No,
that's your thinking face.
No, I was thinking about who you're going to ask me who I think Tayla Santos should fight.
Oh,
and I was I kind of already know who Shevchenko should fight. So I'm already like, who's fighting in the next couple of days or in the next couple of months. Sorry, that's where my mind goes. Like I forget I'm on camera.
Yeah, it's gonna come down to Lauren Murphy and Misha Tate. That's definitely probably going to play a factor there.
Exactly what I was thinking.
That's the dumbest title eliminator fight ever. Like Misha Tate should not get a title fight off of that. But I think it works out because I would actually prefer it if Manon Fiorot didn't get a title shot. I feel like it's way too soon for her. Even though a win over Caitlin Chookagian is a really nice feather to have in her hat, I think they're really rushing her, and I would like to see her get a little bit more experience. But
so in her case, you'd want them to follow the unified rules to make sure that it gets judged the right way, right? Is that what you're saying?
That fight's going to play out on the feet. So I think there's less potential for the judges to fuck it up and just to randomly decide, like, we're going to follow our own retarded stringent rules. You say that I would. Okay, well, since you basically queued me up for it or teed me up for it, I should ask you, fine, who do you want Tyler Santos to fight next?
Misha Tate.
Misha Tate. Interesting.
Yeah, I want to see that. Just so that she can get a name. Because what I don't really want, and what happens with our CNN, Fox News, Goldfish news cycle brains that a lot of people have is they're just going to forget. They're not going to remember, like, damn, Tyler Santos was like if you watch it, just watching it raw dog, you figured she'd won. The guy that really screwed it up was Bisping in the third round. Like, I've got it 3-0. And it's like, shut the fuck. You're an idiot. Like, just please stop, dude. You know, and
wait, he was saying he had it 3-0 for Valentina?
For Tyler.
For Tyler, okay.
Yeah, so then that really like sways. I don't know if he even realizes himself, like, and I think like
because I had it 3-0 for Tyler going into the
no, also. And I could see that. I think when you go back and look at it, I think there's something. I think Valentina, like, under the unified rules, she won the second round. I think if you're just going off of damage, right? Which we talked about, like, there's a gentleman on this platform that kind of made that clear to everybody, or clear to me, so by proxy everybody.
Some of us have read the rules.
Yeah. Right. Some of us still rely on other people for their sources, Brand. But God, got me there. No, but I just think, like, it kind of sway in that moment. Someone like, you have to be very. You just wish John Anik was talking more in those cases, to where he kind of leaves it open ended, and he's a pro. Where you got a guy like Bisping, like, it's 3-0 Tyler, and like it's like, like, were you like, are you like, what are you focused on right now? Because like those guys, especially guys like Bisping and Cormier, they have to kind of like be aware of everything going on around them.
Yeah. Where
like a pro, like a guy like Anik's kind of like reading from the teleprompter, kind of getting his stuff from the back. So he's more like not as emotionally. He gets emotional with it, but you can tell like he's very like he's very conservative with what he says or what he says in the middle of the fight as far as like how it could go. Where like someone like Bisping says like, oh, I've got it for Santos. So it's like, well, do you like what does that matter though? You know, and so now like a lot of people are like really like kind of blowing it up, thinking like she got robbed or whatever it is. Where that's not so much the case. He's wrong and right in the same, because it's like, yeah, Shevchenko won, but she shouldn't be the champ or whatever. If that makes any sense. No, it doesn't.
Shevchenko won. Shouldn't be the champ.
No. I mean, I in my honest opinion, I just don't think that that's a very entertaining way to fight. I like I said, dude, she's fucking the highest level on Pluto, and I'm fucking on the most south pole of the planet Earth, dude. To where like trajectory of who can make that call, but. I mean, that's just you're asking me for my opinion, so
I'm just stonewalling you because I can't think of what to say. I'm just being dick.
No, it's cool. I know I get it, but it's just I think a lot of people will agree with what I like. It
I
could still be a robbery under the rules. Just
like I said too, I think realistically, I was expecting them to give the fight to Tyler Santos.
yeah,
It's one of those things like I don't mean to be that guy when I was doing the whole actually the rule thing.
yeah,
It's more to say
yeah,
like I'm surprised
yeah.
because I would have expected them to give it to Tyler Santos, and I think Tyler Santos does kind of deserve it. And I don't feel like it was one of the things that were, I don't know, like it doesn't feel like a robbery to me, but
No,
it's like
not anymore. It did in the moment, for sure. In the moment, and then Sunday
mhm,
morning, I was like,
mhm.
oh, why did she do? Oh, I knew this is, And then
I think
by
it's
like
just
today, I was like, okay,
is she is Val is Valentina Shevchenko the longest reigning champion at the moment?
yeah.
I can't think of anyone else who
I can't think of
is.
anybody that maybe Kamara, but I mean, she was before him.
Chev was already champion before he got. I think
Yeah,
she is. So I think it's one of the. It's also one of those deals too where it's just such. It's one thing to say like, oh, like, this person was robbed, but it's like, what does it mean to take away all of that from Valentina on a close fight? You know,
so you're saying you gotta beat the champ to beat the champ?
I think I'm saying that. No, no,
So, but in other cases, you said like, I hate when they say that, but right now you're like, actually, you got to beat the champ to beat the champ.
I'm not saying that. What I'm doing is kind of like thinking about like how the
Yeah,
judges are looking at it and their reluctance to have like make a call that it is going to have that much impact. You know what I mean? Because I think to some extent the judges still probably think like that.
yeah,
And it's kind of like going to the argument about referees and why they admittedly some of them admittedly don't want to take points away because this is a
yeah,
sport where you only fight for 3 rounds, and if
yeah.
you take a point away in 1 round, you're taking a round away from some guy, and that could be the fucking fight right there. Whereas like
His money.
yeah, in boxing, they're fighting for 12 rounds or 10 or 12 rounds
Yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah. He has a chance to make that up,
Yeah, like it's not as
or
impactful on the
she.
fight, or she. But they fight for 2 minutes. So that's even more impactful for female
Yeah,
boxers.
yeah.
They need to fight for more than 2 minutes. Let's get with the fucking program, man. But anyways, we won't get into that. Yeah, man, it's a touchy thing with Valentina Shevchenko. She's definitely a fighter who I watch more for her potential, not because I'm expecting her to do what she did to Jessica Ai to everybody that she fights.
She
That's
could do that.
she can.
But it makes you mad because it's like you can do that
Hmm.
anytime you want.
She's risk averse.
Anytime you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's smart because it's like, who the fuck am I? She's got a family, she's got aspirations past
Hmm.
MMA.
Yeah.
So, hey, this Pepsi Tits guy watching my fight on a live stream wants to see me fucking kick the shit out of someone. I'll just do it. You know what I
Come
mean?
on, Valentina, do
Just do
the
it.
crazy fucking Eastern Bloc
Yeah,
violent things.
yeah,
Valentina, why are you taking all the violence away and fucking saving it for yourself?
yeah.
Yeah, I think that I don't know really what else there is to talk about this fight. We can move on
It
to the next one. I don't know if you
it
have any
was
other talking points.
definitely it was definite. It's so
It
weird.
wasn't a bad fight. I'll say
It
that.
was not a bad fight, but it was a Valentina Shevchenko fight,
Yeah,
and
it's a good
how
description
like
for it.
we said it about the Yuri and the Glover fight, where it's like, whatever, however this ends, we're
Hmm.
gonna be like, oh shit, we should have thought about that. This
I'll
is that fight.
I'll ask you this: after all of the other flyweights in that division definitely saw that fight, who do you think is salivating the most and looking at this like, okay, thank you, Tyler Santos, you laid the blueprint out. Now, like I can go and improve
Man.
on that. Like,
But are there any? There's probably a couple.
hmm
Um, but are there any that have her God-given ability to do that? Because
no,
she's, like we said, she has that frame and that type of build to do what she did.
yeah,
A lot of gals in that weight division just don't have that. They just don't have that.
or a lot of them have. They still have big gaping holes. They're exciting prospects, and I feel bad about
Easy, easy, big
grow
dog.
grow up. They're
Yeah. No, but like
they're
you're saying,
they're
like, is
exciting.
anybody salivating to like
Mhm.
what they just saw? Like okay, like
There's too many
I
people
could,
with holes. God damn
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Manon Fiorot doesn't have the ground
man,
game.
yeah. She just does not have what it takes. Like I
She
could
doesn't.
say, like, man, I've been watching enough Tom Brady to where I kind of know what it takes to be a quarterback. Like I just don't have it in me, dog. I just don't, dude. You know what I'm saying?
Oh man, Manon Fiorot doesn't have the ground skills. Casey O'Neill doesn't have a ACL right
Two
now,
gal, yeah.
but she
Those were the
doesn't.
two gals that I was thinking of, but they just don't. But then I stopped and I was like, they just don't have it.
You
They
saw
just
what
don't have
you
that.
saw what Casey O'Neill's face looked like after Roxy.
Right. I know.
Uh,
I just saw like those two names in my head because
mhm,
those were like the only two names that I kind of like outside of like the top 3 or 4.
yeah.
I would really even kind of like give a shot at, but I
The,
just don't think they're close enough, and they don't have it. Like Tyler Santos, see what we talked about. Like I think Shevchenko was very smart in picking or putting this fight now, because
mhm,
then she's going to be able to say, "Well, I beat her."
yeah.
You know what I mean? I beat her, so because there's no chance that the way she fought against Valentina, and we talked about like the girls she fought leading up to that, they were underwhelming,
Mhm,
against some Modafferi and some of the other wins that she had. It's like you couldn't finish her, but we were kind of thinking like, what? She's cool, she's fine, she's gonna be fine. She's young,
oh yeah.
you know.
Hmm.
Thank God with the orbital, that's kind of something that can get,
Hmm.
sketch. Those are injuries you can't really mess with, but she's gonna be fine. She's young.
Yeah.
She's gonna put on mass. Like believe it or not, she's probably gonna have to think about in her 30s
Going up to
moving up.
bantamweight.
Yeah, she's gonna have to just with her frame, dude. Like you can just see that's gonna just she's gonna gain 2 pounds, 3 pounds of muscle just by living life. You know what I mean? So,
Hmm.
but now Shevchenko's gonna say, "I beat her. I beat her." It's like another like shrewd business move that she made.
Sure. I think that beating Tyler Santos kind of earmarks the point in Valentina Shevchenko's career where she's now starting to knock off the, at least in my opinion, what are like girls that I consider to be like the next generation of flyweight,
Yeah,
which I think I've made a, like touched on our breakdown episode, but like that is like starting to be like, okay, this girl was probably in high school when Valentina Shevchenko was like doing her thing at
yeah.
bantamweight.
Good
And
point. Good point, man.
and I think that there's a lot of talk going on right now about it. This is what I was forgetting to bring up. There's a lot of talk right now about like, okay, well, Valentina got through another flyweight. Should she now consider going up and fighting the winner of Amanda Nunes and Juliana Pena, or does she want to stick around? Or I think that was a big talking point that's come up, and she's started to sound like she's more open to finally start doing that. Whereas before, she just kind of kept on like, nah, I have my division here. I already fight her 2 times. Maybe if people want it enough, you know what I mean? Now I think people want it. Whether or
Yeah,
not Valentina Shevchenko is, or whether or not they realize that Valentina Shevchenko is not an entertaining fighter,
yeah.
I think that she has enough scalps on her wall, or if in a collection that they want to go and see her prove that, or they like shiny things. They think like, oh, if Juliana Pena manages to pull it off again, Shev's already beat her, so Shev should be able to get it. She's finally going to be a double champion.
Yeah.
What's more entertaining for you? Potentially seeing Shevchenko get 2 belts and lord over 2 divisions, or seeing her clean out another generation of her own division twice over?
See, I would have to say clean out another division because I was a big Floyd May, or still am a big Floyd Mayweather fan,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody be like, "You pay money for this?" I used to like get it and watch it. They're like, "You pay to
Mm-hmm.
watch this," and I go, "Yeah, every single time."
Mm-hmm.
It's badass to watch someone just fuck, and then for me to be like, "Shevchenko sucks." Like, what the
Yeah.
fuck? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's hypocritical of me to say that,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm kind of like realizing that, like, oh man, you're kind of a dick, dude. But um, yeah, I would just want to see her just if that's what she wants to do. That I mean, that she's done it pretty much. She's if anything, she's consistent. She does what she says she's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
So selfishly, I wouldn't want to see her fight Pena.
Does
I
this?
don't think anybody wants to see that.
Yeah, it's kind of neither here nor there for me. Does the way that this fight with Tyler Santos played out, and seeing how Santos found success in the grappling and in controlling Shevchenko, do you foresee that having any kind of like big impact on how Shevchenko would look at bantamweight with bigger girls? Do you think it might not be a good idea now?
I think so. I think, I mean, you'd have to be straight up blind to not see like, whoa, that was a bigger gal there.
Mm-hmm.
Like she kind of had some problems when it got in close. Like she couldn't just get out of the, like we talked about it too. Like if there's any path to victory, it's gonna be in close, holding her, clinching her, and that was where she won. Like when it was real in close, and it was so crazy to see like she wasn't like staying at range and just kind of pop, or she was trying it and then it wasn't working. So when she got in closer, that's when it got entertaining. So.
Yeah. Right on. We will move on to the showcase fight of the evening. Probably will be the last one that we talk about, but maybe we'll touch on some other stuff because there was a lot of entertaining fights and finishes.
This is a great card, dude. That was a fucking sick card.
Definitely people that I'm going to be paying close attention to moving forward. Jake Matthews, who put on a fucking clinic. Sad. But that now,
was so cool.
Yeah, that guy couldn't miss in that last kind of like bit where he put Fialho away. But right now we got to talk about the strawweights and the showcase fight. There's something missing from the UFC right now, and that's the strawweight queen. The division loses Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Joanna Jędrzejczyk loses to Zhang Weili in their rematch. The rematch is 27 months in the making. They went the distance in their first one, fight of the year. I'm saying things that everybody who's probably watching this already knows. It was a war. This fight, a lot of people were talking about it looking like round one of this fight was just round 6 of their previous fight.
Yeah. I even said that. I got up and was like, what even is this? Like, who are these two girls? Like, how is this so perfect?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's just like sometimes, like, things just go good together. You know what I mean? Like chicken and waffles or whatever. Like these two girls just fighting each other just goes.
They're gonna be good for a scrap.
Good. Yeah, it just all like if you take ranch dressing like ingredient by ingredient and kind of just like, oh, that's kind of like you put it all together, that shit just fucking is good on anything, dude.
You did not just compare Joanna Jędrzejczyk and Weili Zhang to ranch dressing ingredients on my podcast. Good. I'm just fucking. I know.
Things just go good, dude. Like it just works, and like their skill sets. Where Joanna, one thing that I did not realize that I should have was how good Joanna is at takedown defense and how really good she was. Like, and what like a testament to her. I mean, not so much in this case, but in her past career, like, wow, she really fucking worked hard on that. Like, she really did. And you kind of don't, it's like you watch sport and then you see a guy who's so good at the sport in general or a girl that's so good at it. You don't realize the little things that they do so much better than everybody else. And that's what makes them world class. So,
Yeah. Joanna had like deceptively good takedown defense because
she did.
She got taken down. Despite the fact that she has relatively good balance. You know, there's plenty of examples of her like hopping around on one leg to defend takedowns. But I think like the shine for her was in her scramble. And her inability to just accept the bottom position. She was always trying to go for a really deep half guard or see if she can go out the back door. So. And credit to her in this fight. Zhang Weili came out. I said I completely got this fight wrong, but it doesn't mean that I didn't come into this fight with doubts. But I was being a fanboy. I thought that if Zhang Weili was going to come into this fight and wrestle, that would be a mistake for her. I thought that it was going to be kind of diminishing returns and she was going to end up depleting too much of her gas tank because Joanna just wasn't going to accept it and end up getting up. Joanna didn't accept it and she got up, but in the process, she got elbowed in the fucking face like 4 or 5 times. And I don't think that Joanna ever really recovered after that because she looked very sloppy. The game plan went right out the window. It didn't last long. it seemed like after the back and forth on the floor and the damage that she took, when she got back to her feet, she was just throwing haymakers, and she was even kind of throwing haymakers.
She was loading
Before,
up,
yeah,
dude.
she was loading
She
up a
was,
lot, and
yeah.
and the strikes weren't good looking. Like they were kind of pawing strikes.
Yeah, she did like what she did that like parlier chingazo like top
Yeah,
like and
yeah,
like whoa what the you expect to see that at like the taco stand after a fight, like
and
two chicks all mad at each other fighting like that. Not
and there was some of that. There was some of that, to be fair, in their first fight, but it was
right
kind of later in the fight when both girls were
when
fucking
she looked
really
like an
wearing it, and
alien.
she looked like an.
Yeah.
So I was surprised to see that so early in this fight. To me, it really did look like she was wearing all 27 of those months off in there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that she really got up to speed, found her rhythm, or found her distance. Zhang Weili, I mean, it's hard to really assess where I consider Zhang Weili to be
Carla
after this.
Esparza is fucked.
She's toast. Carla
Carla
Esparza is probably
fucked.
toast.
There is someone. Carla Esparza was at home. Like she can probably say, "I don't care. I don't even care. Like I don't even care, bitch. You're good." Like that shit. That shit sucks, dude. That shit sucks.
My point mostly is just that like Joanna underperformed so much more than I was expecting that
Yeah.
I kind of don't know what to make of it as far as Zhang Weili. Like even that spinning back forearm, I don't know. Maybe I was just kind of like maybe that's just therapy for me to be like, oh, she underperformed so hard. I'm not sure, but I think with her being like 1 foot, I think it was clear that there was 1 foot out the door, like for a little while for her.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like thinking like not like revisionist history, like what would it have been if Joanna did show up. I think she would have been the underdog anyways, and she was probably going to come up short in that fight. But I don't know. I obviously take Zhang Weili to beat Carla Esparza.
That's gonna be gross.
Carla Esparza is going to eat it. But I don't know how I feel about if Rose earns her way back to a title shot, and it's just like what Rose is going to show. There's so many question marks.
He's going to tear Rose apart.
Dude. She should. That's my point. Is she should,
but she will. She will. No, she will. And because like we talked about this, dude. Let's not be afraid to talk about it. Okay, I'm just going to bring it up. So those 27 months, we were talking about it. She was like. Those are 27 communist Chinese months, like laser focus, where you will disgrace your ancestors if you do not fix that wrong. Fix it. And it's not, you can't just go back to Shanghai and like, sorry. Like, nah, dude, like, I'm sure like a member of her family was like bound up, like head down, like just like, praying to God like that this shit goes the right way. Do you know what I mean? And like Weili's like right there, like, oh, like my cousin, they have my cousin. You know, so I'm not even kidding, dude. I'm not even kidding. Like I guarantee you that like it's a different beast. Where like Joanna was like, if I win, like I'll sell more books, or that's more morning shows for me. Where like Weili Zhang's like, okay, dude, like or Zhang Weili's like, damn, dude, like my whole family lineage will just get wiped off the map. Like they won't even talk about me. They won't speak about me. Everything that I ever did, good, bad, or whatever. Because like look at what happened with Rose, right? We're gonna like whatever, but like down the road we're gonna be like, man, she had some good fights, man. She did great. Like, you know, in China, if Weili loses those fights, they just don't speak about it. They're not going to be like, "Oh, she was good." They're just you won't even know she existed, dude. They won't talk about it unless she's like top level champ all the time and like always in the mix. You know what
Here's
I mean?
the thing. I think if we're gonna talk about this though, here's the thing. Like here's where the extent to which I don't suspend my disbelief into that I do. I think that the Chinese government probably cares enough about the strawweight UFC title picture to sponsor Zhang Weili, probably give her the best steroids potentially, if that's something that she's looking for, to
Let's
give her
just
an
get it out.
edge.
She's on steroids, very, very good ones, designer steroids that are 3 steps ahead of what can be tested or found.
Allegedly.
And they'll find it. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
They'll find it, and then the next time she's going to be that much farther ahead. Because in the embedded and those videos, she was like flexing and stuff, and it's like, what? And she's like, how? Like what? How did you do that? You know what I mean? Like, it just you can't put that out of your mind. Like, there is something to say for just hard work and eating the right way and just having great genetics, but come on, man.
But to finish my point though, I don't think that the Chinese government cares nearly enough if she's not champion, is my point.
I think you'd be
surprised. Because at the end of the day, like, it doesn't really. What does it do for them? You know what I mean? It's big money for the UFC. It's big money for the UFC because that's a market that they want to tap into, and they want to put her up on a pedestal and kind of like hang their banner off of Zhang Weili so that they can like break into that market, because that's like another however many billion people who are potentially going to buy not even buy pay-per-view, so they could cut a TV deal in China with.
Right.
But I mean, beyond that, I mean, like we both agree, Carla Esparza is in danger.
But this is the thing though. If Zhang Weili is on, that's fine. Like, I don't care. It's like weed. It's like someone gets caught with weed. Like, it's like Willie Nelson's tour bus had weed in it. Like, oh yeah, like, okay, like, someone who fights in a cage is doing something to make them like recover faster and be better at their job. Yeah, that's fine. Like, I don't care. But like, let's not be kids and pretend like that's not a possibility. You know what I mean? Like, that's for sure like something that's going on, and that's cool, and I like that. I like that shit. I'm not saying I dislike that. I like that shit.
I mean, I guess I like it if I know everybody's doing it. If there's an inkling that literally like one person is getting away with it while everyone else is living under the thumb of USADA, I wouldn't be as okay with it. But put them all on PEDs, make them none of them on PEDs. I'm fine with it either way.
And I also think, like, that goes along with the unified rules of boxing, or the unified rules of MMA now, where it's selectively enforced. I think USADA was put in there to selectively enforce things to where it's like, no, we have USADA, so that doesn't happen here. And it's like, no, it happens. And I think you guys kind of know that it happens, and you can kind of go back to like, well, we have USADA, so no, like, you know, that's not how it works around here. Where I think they selectively kind of like overlook things. Like, you know, that's just the way I think, dude. That's the way I think. And to go along with Weili's, one of her family members bound, like hoping to hear Bruce Buffer say her name, who I can't remember, don't know why I forget his name, the dude that runs USADA, or their main guy, but that one of his family members is there, like they're like looking at the vial, and like he's like looking at like her crew, and he's like, all good, see, and then they're like, all right, let her out. And like, his daughter goes running back to the house, you know what I mean? So I can't get rid of that. I don't know why I'm like that. I don't know why that's where my mind goes, but that's what it is.
But I mean, when Zhang Weili eventually takes the title again, I mean, is every diplomat in China going to be like, yes, now we have the power, now we have the money flow? Like, where's it?
I think it's compartmentalized. Do you know what I mean? Like, not like Winnie the Pooh, their like leader, isn't like thinking about Weili, but it is so compartmentalized there. It's literally communist regime. So the people that, if she's not the champ, when they come, they're like, well, why isn't she? Like, it's not like he's like always watching it. There's like a chain, and I'm going up and down the chain, and there's a weak link here. Who's in charge of that? And then you just go boom, 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 boom. Why isn't she? Okay, well, that just gets wiped off the map. And we don't have we're not even close to amount of time to get into it, but like,
I think we should just who gives a fuck about the China stuff? This is an MMA podcast, dog. Like, honestly, like this, I'm gonna fucking pull the plug, dude. Like, this is stupid. It's fucking dumb, guy. I'd let you ramble on for too fucking long. Take the foil off. It doesn't matter, even if it's true or not. Like, I kind of wanted to talk about Joanna and Jacek's retirement.
Jeff Nowitzki.
Jeff Nowitzki, yeah. I don't give a fuck, man. Like, I don't think anybody. I think the person who runs China, it's really showing how much I don't know about the world right now. That I don't even know who the fuck that person's name is. I bet you. I bet you.
Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, I bet he doesn't. He doesn't remember who the fuck Zhang Weili is. He probably knows. Like, oh yeah, there's some fighter chick. I think you'd be surprised.
I think the thing that. Like, look at what happened when they had the Olympics and the way they treated athletes, the way they treated American athletes.
The Olympics is different, though, because the Olympics is on a fucking global scale. And I mean, the UFC is too. You could watch it all over the world. But, like, the Olympics is like, hey, this is us against everybody. It's not just about our individual fighter in this individual division, in this individual fight promotion. This is our country has this many gold medals, and all these other countries only have this many gold medals. You know what I mean? It's tallying.
Okay.
It's bean counting. But my point is that's not what this podcast is about.
No, it definitely not. But I mean, for me, I just can't get past that for whatever reason in my head. It's just like any of those fighters, and like we're kind of seeing just to get back to like the Chinese fight, we're kind of seeing they have a blueprint of what they're doing. Where why can't I not remember this gentleman's name, because he just looked amazing, but he's with Team Alpha Male right now. He's a Chinese fighter, and so we know the guy. We're
on his name too, yeah.
Yeah, and he's looked amazing since going to Team Alpha Male, right? So in China, they just don't have that wrestling base. They don't have that, so they really don't have any type of base for anything. So they're going there. They're probably taking I guarantee they're taking copious notes on grappling and everything else, and then they're taking it back to them. And then, like, he's probably going to do the same thing where he'll isolate himself. He's kind of like taking the blueprint to the point to where, and then you're going to get like what Wei Li's done now, and she's going to be fucking scary, dude. She's going to be fucking scary. Going like, she's like moving at this crazy fast pace where she's like taking that loss. Just made her that loss or that win made her stronger. Do you know what I mean? Whereas like Joanna said, that loss made me stronger, better athlete. Like Wei Li, by not completely dominating that fight, made her stronger.
I think Wei Li with her confidence back is a scary thing too, because I think that there's the case where she kind of got caught. I don't want to discredit Rose Namajunas and say like, oh, that was a fluke head kick, because you don't throw a head kick by accident. You didn't slip and kick someone in the head and knock them out in a high-level mixed martial arts bout. But I think that Wei Li potentially read into that too much, and it made her a little bit more gun shy. I don't want to say it turned her into a head case or anything like that, but I think she over adjusted when in reality she shouldn't have. She probably should have just looked at it and be like, well, that was fucked up, better make sure that doesn't happen again, but I don't need to reinvent myself as an entire fucking fighter in order to go in there and handle Rose Namajunas. You know what I mean? Because I think we've seen so far that like it's hard to match Rose Namajunas in a game of finesse, which I think is what like Joanna tried to do in their rematch, where it was like, oh, you caught me, but I'm going to come out and still kind of like try and play this tit for tat game of finesse with you. I'm not really sure what adjustments there were for Joanna to make there, because that is kind of Joanna's game plan. But if we look at how everyone else pretty much has beaten Rose Namajunas, it's kind of by not respecting her. Jessica Andrade, Carla Esparza in their first fight. You know what I mean? You kind of have to. It's weird because I don't feel like people are necessarily like losing mentally to Rose Namajunas in the same way that
she's a head case, dude.
Yeah,
she's a head case, bro.
Yeah, because it's not in the same way that I feel like people lost to, say, Anderson Silva mentally, where dudes were like they were defeated before they entered the cage. That's not happening with Rose Namajunas. But I think that there's certain instances, or a lot of instances, where you can kind of play MMA math, and these girls can kind of compare common opponents to each other and adjust a little bit too much. And yeah, I think that's the situation there. Do I think that she'll probably work her way back into contention? I don't even think she's going to fight again until next year. So I guess I'm not too worried about Rose Namajunas right now. and her finding herself across the cage from Zhang Weili coming out of this fight. We'll see what happens with Carla Esparza, but I kind of want your opinion about where Marina Rodriguez fits into all this, because she was in Singapore, she was cage side, and I could only imagine
you said it was great. She was great value, Joanna, like in case some shit happened.
Yeah, they had generic Joanna.
When you showed that
on
to
deck.
me, I was like almost hoping, like, man, like you never wish any ill will on anybody, like ever. And I really wanted to see the rematch, but I was like, I would not mind seeing Joanna and Marina Rodriguez fight right now. Like,
yeah,
if Joanna finds she loves Tony so hard, like find a cable and trip over it. You know what I mean? Like, I would not be mad if that happened. You know?
Yeah,
she's gonna be fine.
Yeah, I didn't know that she was an alternate or a backup fighter at all. So when I saw that she was in Singapore, I was like, well, that's clearly what she's there for. I mean, she's Tyler Santos' teammate also. So, I mean, you make a case that she's there to support her teammate and all that. But
that's a good squad right there, dude.
Singapore's a long fucking flight.
Yeah, that's a long flight to go for the homegirl you train with.
Yeah. Let me go back to Joanna just a little bit.
Sure,
I have a question for you. Like, what now that she's retired, she's not going to be competing anymore. Number one, we see retirements often not last very long in mixed martial arts. I have my opinions about whether or not she's fully retired, but do you have any thoughts? Do you feel like this? No, she's really gone. Or do you have an idea that she's going to be like, someone's going to call her out later and she's going to be like, oh, you know?
I think she kind of shot the gun on it. Though I think the way she did it is going to give her cause to think about it, or maybe even tease it in the media, or be on Twitter like a Cejudo type deal. You know, like, I would beat that bitch. Like, who the fuck are you? Like, I'm the boogie woman. You know. I think if she would have let it play out and thought about it and talked with her people. But I mean, who knows, man? She's just so great. Like, what she's done, and she's a savvy businesswoman. You know what I mean? And she's a hard Polish 7. Like, you know, those just don't. You know, just don't come around. So I think she's gonna like be on. You're gonna definitely see her on Twitter. Like, I whoop your fucking ass, and she's gonna be at American Top Team. They're like, why is she there? What is she doing?
It'll be Mean Girls for sure. If she sticks around at American Top Team with any amount of authority, like Marina Moroz is going to be getting cornered in the women's bathroom or some shit like that. No, any key performances or Joanna Jędrzejczyk moments from her career that will always kind of stick in your head? Not even necessarily fights, just moments, quotes, anything.
The Rose lead up, like where she was like kind of like trying to get in her fucking head and like saying those weird things, and like Rose told that story on Rogan where what did she say? She said something about God or like something like that, right? Like where she didn't know that she did it, but she like touched on something that Rose was like really deeply insecure about and thinking about. She's like, how the fuck does she fucking do that? And so that was really cool. And like, I love the way she gets in people's faces when she fucking does the like showdowns and shit. Like, that's super cool.
Yeah.
And that shit works until it doesn't, you know what I mean? But
it's tough to go back to it. Yeah, once that facade is dropped, you kind of have to change.
You kind of have to change. Yeah. And but
especially if you were never like a finish fighter to begin with. Especially if you're kind of like a point fighter like Joanna is. Yeah.
She's a very good point fighter. That's a good point too. And just like really turning, for me, WWMA, like our WMMA was like Ronda Rousey for a long time for me, when it shouldn't have been. It should have always been the way I would really hope people look at WMMA through the glasses, like the Joanna Jędrzejczyk lens of that's what WMMA is. It's someone who is a specialist at something, but will do everything they fucking can and go to the right training sessions and go to the right coaches to be better at make your weaknesses better. Not, you know, just she could have rested on Muay Thai and just been like, I'll be the best Muay Thai practitioner, but she like really rounded her game out very, very well, enough to keep herself to the point where she could use her strengths more, and that's really admirable in the sport. Like to see that, to go from Ronda Rousey to that is like awesome.
Yeah, it always bothered me a little bit when after the Rose loss, when people were quick to like, a lot of people were trying to compare, they were trying to compare Joanna to Ronda Rousey.
Ignorance.
Which was like threw me for a loop. Like really, like I know that Joanna was in denial. You know what I mean? She was not. She was a sore loser by far. Like she was like, no bullshit. I didn't lose. The judges, they rubbed me or whatever.
You show me
She's making excuses.
Or a good loser, I'll show you a fucking. What's the quote? Like, you showed me a fucking good loser, and I'll show you a fucking someone who doesn't know shit about what they're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But why was I bringing that up? I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, that people were comparing her to Ronda Rousey. But like Ronda Rousey stuck her face in a pillow and just went away and refused to talk to media, refused to do it. And like even when they managed to get her back against Amanda Nunes, which in hindsight is kind of impressive that they managed to get her to come back. I mean, I guess the amount of money that she left on the table was that big that it's like she kind of had to come back to get another check. But even leading up to that fight, I don't remember her doing any promo. I think she literally said like, okay, I will only fight under these circumstances. I just show up and walk into the cage and fight. I'm not doing any fucking interviews. I'm not doing any extra embeddeds or any of that media. Like, so it's like, dude, like, meanwhile, to make that comparison to Joanna and Jacek, like, Joanna has always stepped up and done all the extra media, arguably too fucking much media. Yeah, you know what I mean? Right. Like she did, like, and she was kind of bragging about it. It was like, yeah, look at all this, you know, that they have me doing. This is part of what it is to be a champion. It's not just putting in the extra rounds at the gym. It's having to do with all the extra interviews and doing all the extra media and all that shit. All that's distractions. And it's distractions at the worst part of your camp right before the fight. Like literally in that last week, suddenly everybody's pointing a fucking camera in your face and you're having to, you know, so I think that one thing that a lot of people are going to be left with is the fact that Joanna did arguably squat on her ranking, you know what I mean? Because a lot of people were coming out of the woodwork and showing her love, which, I don't know, being a Joanna Jędrzejczyk fan this last few years, it's kind of felt a little bit lonely. I did have a little bit of a moment of like, where'd all these Joanna fans come from all of a sudden? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I do think it's kind of funny and a little bit ironic, and I would never fucking like slander the fucking queen, but she kind of left and pulled the ladder up. Like a lot of people were like, you changed everything, you did so much for women's MMA or whatever, but she did not give any other woman in that division the satisfaction though. Like it's like like we're talking about Marina. She was such a
terrible coach on like the Ultimate
She was the worst. She was an awful coach. And these are all, it might sound like I'm taking shots. These are, it's kind of like
Michael Jordan couldn't coach. He says it himself. Like, I can't coach. Like, I just fucking do it. Just fucking do it.
She was literally only on that show to talk shit to Claudia Gadelha and try to get in her fucking face.
That was such a good fight. That was such a good fight, though. Thank you for bringing that up. That was a good fight, dude.
Those were classics, and those fights kept Claudia Gadelha relevant for a while.
Because like Ronda like put her in a child's place, you know what I mean? And it's like, oh man, and then, but yeah, you're right. It really, they were good for each other. It was good for each other, and it was good. Like it was funny to watch that, and to go back and watch how Joanna kind of coached in that. It was funny. Like you brought that up on this pod before, where she was such a terrible coach, but yeah.
Yeah, she wouldn't even be by the cage sometimes. Sometimes she'd be off of the couch or the bleachers on her phone and shit. And it's like,
I just hate to say this. Because like she would whoop the living shit out of me. But it's just so, she's so cute to me. Like you're just like a little evil honey badger. Like it's like a honey badger to me. Like that's how honey badgers are. Like when they raise their kids, they're like, look, just do this. Like, just do what I'm telling you to do and you won't die.
That's understandable.
And she's not wrong. Yeah, she's not wrong. But like in her mind, she's a honey badger. Like I'm in the desert and everything's trying to kill me. Yeah. So why I don't have time to sit here and tell you how to do this. Like some people think like that.
Should and I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it for the sake of conversation. Should Joanna have taken a tune-up fight? Do you think it would have made any
Yeah,
difference to her sticking around?
Marina Rodriguez would have been an amazing fight for her to have.
Yeah.
Just to feel the, because like I think I don't know if you're gonna cut that in, but I know we kind of like have our little chat in the lead up, and you said like she was surprised by Whaley's strength, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and which is like that's kind of weird because that was the last person you fought, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
just it made to kind of roundabout way of answering like yeah, she should have had maybe one or two,
Yeah.
and I think if she really would have wanted the championship belt with aspirations of maintaining it and um, like defending it, she would have took a lead up. But I think
Sorry, go on.
no, yeah, but I think the way it kind of worked out, it was kind of like it's now or never. So I
Mm-hmm.
gotta fucking do it. And who knows too? Like in her own private moments, like getting up out of bed to go to fucking Coconut Creek, Florida, you know,
Mm-hmm.
when you could be in at home, you know, she said she wants to be a mom. Like that's a whole different way of thinking, you know. So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you probably definitely have to start feeling like the clock is ticking for that too, to plan something like that. And it's something that you and I obviously aren't necessarily like thinking about biologically.
right.
But yeah, it's that whole silk sheets things. I mean, Joanna is one of the few women in this sport who's like actually managed to legitimately make a lot of money. And it's not
Mm-hmm.
to say there's not others, but there's less than a lot of people would
There's a
probably think.
European bag that is unmatched. Like
Hmm.
I saw someone talk about it. Like Bruce Willis makes there's that portion like Poland, Hungary, like those portions of Europe. There is a bag there
Hmm.
of like untapped because there's just not so much of a melting pot of creativity
Hmm.
as weird as it sounds,
Yeah.
and as there is in America, because we're just like, oh, like we can just, we're just like, there's little countries within countries, you know.
Hmm.
Whereas over there, they're kind of like culturally, it's different.
Right.
So she's like, when someone like her who has like the skills, who has the marketability, who's photogenic, who's a sweet person, well spoken, she's going to make a bag. Like just because it's not American doesn't mean
Yeah.
she's not.
Yeah. I mean, and she was a champion. She had this pay-per-view points, and she shared cards with Connor, with Ronda
Mm-hmm.
Rousey, and with GSP on the same card where she lost to Rose. So having pay-per-view points on any of those three cards means that she fucking cleaned up at some point. I don't know what the actual figures look like, but yeah, I could see how eventually it could start getting tough to want to keep going out there and doing it. She said it herself too. One really good argument to, or her response about why she didn't take a tune-up fight, or she refused to take a tune-up fight, was that it doesn't matter who the opponent is. I'm going to do this same amount of work in the gym.
Mm.
Like it doesn't matter if I'm fighting the girl who's number 10, number 15 in the division, or number 2.
That
Like
says a lot.
I'm going
Yeah,
to work.
without saying anything. You said a lot without saying a lot right there.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is saying something still though, because like, hey, I'm going to put in the same amount of work in the gym, no matter who it is. So like,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where all the actual work is. Like, that's like the fight is a pleasure. That the fight is like our
Yeah,
prize.
the
Like that's when
release.
we
Yeah.
actually get to enjoy ourselves. So I thought that was a pretty compelling point.
Yeah, no, good point, man.
Do you want to talk about Jake Matthews and Andra Fialho, or is it running late for you?
No,
Let me know.
that Magdala Jake
Della Magdalene.
Della Magdalena is amazing. He's
Yeah.
got. I mean, I brought it up every single time he fights, dude. He is eye test off the fucking charts, dude.
Hell yeah.
Dude, hey, that shit is fucking like undeniable, dude.
Give me more
And
Aussies
yeah,
for
oh
sure.
man, damn, dude. Yeah, and you just hope he goes more the Volk route than the Hangman route. You know what
Hmm.
I mean?
Yeah.
And he's kind of in that division towards like shit, dude. Like, do you really like, this shit can work for you, but you gotta be ready to go. So,
That guy's going to that guy has the potential to make welterweight a lot more exciting.
exactly.
So many guys coming up at welterweight now. Now it's like,
Yeah.
oh, give me Jack
Yeah.
Della Maddalena versus Shavkat or something like. And it's
That's
just
right, dude. That's what. Oh, dude, get out of my head. That's what I was thinking about all day
yeah.
today. Was like, damn, dude. that is gonna be like 3 years from now. We're gonna be like, oh, dude.
That's when I start getting really excited for a division. Is when I could look at the guys who are only like from like 11 to 20, and can like think of like fun matchups for those guys. Then it's like, okay, this division is gonna be fucking dope very soon.
Great. It's going to be crazy. That is, and it's such a. We talked about like what like how like light heavyweight just wasn't it, because there was just kind of hard for guys to be champs. So like, were guys kind of more focusing on keeping that, like going down in weight to like, because they knew there really wasn't a path. But I don't know, man. That is such a good fucking division. That division is gonna be like you said, dude. Can't put it any better than what you said. It's gonna be fucking awesome.
All right, folks, that's where we're going to wrap it up. If you made it this far, thank you. As always, if you enjoy our content, please hit like, subscribe, ring the bell so you don't miss any future episodes. And if you have any thoughts on Brandon's comments on China, leave them down below. Otherwise, we will see you again for our UFC 276 pre-fight breakdown edition of The Fight Plug. Have a good night.